I want to throw people in at the deep end because I didn't get the chance to talk to you on the Cokie the Clown album. So I thought I would start people off there.
I love that. I love that because that album is, I think it's such a special album to me, and people can't really deal with it because it may be it is the most depressing album ever made. I mean,
you get no arguments. You'll get no arguments from me, mate. So I've been a rock critic for 20 years. It's literally my job to hear all of the albums that came out. And something I enjoyed on the press run for that was you and I had a similar, almost perverse enjoyment of showing people that record. Because, like...
Oh, you did too?
Cool. Yeah, man. It's so affecting. There's no way you can listen to that and be like, anyway, what's for dinner? So I enjoyed the, like, you think you know bleak music, but this is, and I'd already read the Hepatitis Bathtub, and I'd got the audiobook version, so I'd already heard one of the most affecting moments on that record. But did you get a perverse enjoyment of how people responded to that record?
No, actually, no. I thought people would like the record a lot more. What I didn't expect, and not just that, but people were like, I listened to it and I don't think I can listen to it again.
Right.
And I didn't expect that because I feel that it's a really beautiful, the most beautiful record I've ever made, but really beautiful. You know, all the arrangements with piano and horns and how soft it is. But the juxtaposition to the lyrics where like, what? How could this song be so beautiful? And he's singing about killing his mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And with the title, That Time I Killed My Mom, which is a cool title.
Yeah.
It made me laugh. It used to be called La Pieta.
Really? Forgive my lack of Spanish. What's La Pieta?
That's the statue, the Michelangelo statue of a woman holding her baby. I think it's Mary. Maybe she was a Mother Mary. I don't know, holding some Mexican kid named
right.
But La Pieta, I thought it was it's respect.
Right. Because it's not only interesting from a musical standpoint. I agree. It is a beautiful record and it's so well pieced together musically. And I was astounded when I was like, how does Fat Mike be friends with one of Guns N' Roses? Where did you meet? How the hell did you and Dizzy Reed know each other?
Well, Danny Lohner from Nine Inch Nails, you know, he produced the album. I stayed at his house for a couple months. And it really was a dark time. You know, he doesn't do drugs or anything, but every day I sang the whole record in the corner, singing, curled up, drinking vodka and doing a bunch of blow. And when I first started singing that way, he's like, this is what Trent did when he sang Hurt. He got in the corner and curled up. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And as we got some guest appearances, I mean, when I called up Travis Barker and said, dude, I'm doing this record. It's kind of weird. I want to know if you want to play on it. He was like, well, yeah. I go, don't you want to hear more about it? He's like, if you wrote it, I'm in, dude, I'm in. And I think he may have regretted that.
Yeah. It's a lot different to his usual fare.
Right. And it's funny because he was so stoked on the record. He's like, wow, I've never done anything like this. And he added so much, Travis did. You know, he wrote really cool drum parts. But he didn't really like publicize it, you know, afterwards, because he's like, what have I gotten myself into?
Yeah. And besides, like, you'll know each other from fucking like Aquabats days, presumably. Right. But like to the average person who knows Travis from, I don't know, playing drums with Mary J. Blige or whatever, it's quite a leap, I would imagine.
He's such a sweet man. I went to see Blink-182 in Oakland. I brought my stepdaughter because she was a big fan and her friend. And it's funny, there was no one backstage. It was just the three of us. And, you know, they're not a party band. And,
right.
And he talked to my stepdaughter for like 20 minutes, you know, and just really cool. Sweet man.
I love that.
It's funny. I went to record it at John Feldman from Goldfinger's house with Travis, and my ex-wife Soma snake oil, drop me off. And so we're talking, and then she knocks on the door. She comes back in. She goes, who owns the black SUV? And he's like, I have a black SUV. She's like, I accidentally hit it with my car. So I haven't told this story, I don't think. And I'm like, oh shit, is it damaged? She's like, I don't know, I kind of dented the side. I'm like, well, I'll pay for it. And Travis is like, no, it's okay.
I got this one.
He texted me later. I saved the text. It goes, dude, your songwriting, A+. Your wife's driving, D.
Love it. So I wanted to ask a little bit about Los Angeles, because I live here now, and I was reading.
Oh,
yeah, man, I read the hepatitis bathtub.
Where are you here? I'm in Sherman Oaks. You know.
You're kidding. I'm in North Hollywood. I'm about fucking 20 minutes from you. Yeah. If I'd have known that,
we should be doing. We should actually be doing this 10 feet from each other. So it's like Battleship, you know, like you're on the other side of the room. And
yeah, but we're still doing it the same way, live via satellite from the same room.
Yeah. Right, yeah. That would be awesome.
I was moving here just as I was reading the hepatitis bathtub. And like my punk rock is post 1994 because of my age, right? So reading what punk culture was like in Los Angeles as you were growing up was mind-blowing to me. Like, you hear words of violence and all the rest of it. Like, we're from Britain. Like, what are you going to do? Smash someone with an umbrella? Like, the level of violence that you were talking about.
We have knives. Come on, there's knives.
Yeah, there is knives. There's knives as well. There is, on horseback. But, like, what does punk culture look like in Los Angeles these days? Is punk culture in Los Angeles these days?
Well, you know, before COVID, yes, there is punk culture. Probably, I would say more than anywhere else in the world. I'm going to tell you where punk culture lives, and that's East LA. Right. East LA, I mean, half the LA punk scene is Mexicans. And they're the ones, when I was doing this bike rally, and we're getting a bunch of bike riders, you know, for AIDS, and listening to punk rock, it was really cool. And I've actually known a lot of Mexican American and just Mexican punk rockers. I mean, Jefe is one. Yeah. But yeah. In East LA, they have the backyard parties. You know, they're like, because cops won't go there, so they do whatever they want. Love that shit. And you know, I saw Fang and Dr. No at this tiny bar in downtown LA, and it was full of fucking these Mexican kids, and some metalheads came in and started fighting, and all the Mexicans like, oh, hang on, and it was just the biggest fight I've ever seen in my life, and it was the funnest fight. It was like a Wild West fight. You know? One that needs the Tarantino Pulp Fiction music in the background. Yeah, exactly. And you know, and people got bloodied, but you know, no one got shot or stabbed. But I was like, oh, I miss LA punk rock. This is LA punk rock. Like it just feels so like even when I first came here in the early 2000s, like it felt like there was so much rock culture here. I guess it might be sign of the times for where rock music is in 2021, but it's fucking, you know what I mean? You know, the idiotic hair metal, you know, it started when I got into punk. Yeah. You know, Bad Religion playing the Whiskey, and the next night would be Rat. You know, and we were like, this music is so ridiculous. You know, Cherry Pie by Warrant. You know, Smelly went to high school with the Warrant guys. And no way. How could this be getting popular? This is the worst music, the worst lyrics, the biggest idiots writing this music. And when Social Distortion's playing right over here. Why don't you guys sing them? Yeah, Killing Joke as well. I remember you talking about like. Yeah, I saw. Before I even went into high school, when I was 14, I saw Killing Joke at the Whiskey, and I'm like, oh, this is music. And so I guess even Metallica knew that. Yeah, they covered the weight as well. That's why I said that. And a couple of those guys they are idiots. I mean, have you ever read the lyrics? You should have a reading on your show of the lyrics to Kill Them All. You know? Oh yeah, like Metal Militia and that kind of
bang the head against the stage like you never did before on Whiplash. I can hear it's
I mean,
sign of the times.
Ride the Lightning is an amazing album.
Yeah.
Kill 'Em All. My friend was like, "Hey, listen to this. It's like punk rock." I'm like, "No, it's not like punk rock. It's fast, but really dumb."
So it's good that you brought us back to punk rock, because I wanted to ask, like, do you still relate to the guy who wrote "It's my job to keep punk rock elite"? Because in 2021, the word punk gets applied to fucking Shampoo and Machine Gun Kelly and whoever, whatever.
Oh, it's funny. Machine Gun Kelly. I just got a text from someone who said, from Danny Lohner today.
Yeah.
So Tommy Lee, who I golf with, is doing a punk musical with Machine Gun Kelly, and I'm like, really?
Uh-huh.
I haven't met Machine Gun Kelly. He seems pretty cool. Tommy Lee is fucking cool as hell.
Yeah.
Sweet guy. But my punk musical is that's like a real musical. That's like, hey, Machine Gun or Matchy, whatever people call you. I don't think you've been around punk rock long enough to know about the culture.
I agree.
If the culture you know about punk rock is from, Blink and Goldfinger and the Madden Brothers, I don't think you should be the guy representing punk rock in a musical.
So, who does in 2021? Contemporary, like, is it Masked Intruder? Like, where does it live?
Great. You know what? Get Dead. Get Dead.
Someone was in the chat talking about Get Dead literally before you come on, asking me if I'd heard the record. I don't know anything about them.
Yeah, Get Dead is a band on Fat. I've been producing them for a while. They dosed me in the studio, which is a dickhead thing to do. With this something like acid and ecstasy and like, let's party tonight, Mike. I'm like, oh, I can. My daughter has a performance tomorrow, And then an hour later, I'm like, what?
How was the next day?
Well, my wife was like, I thought you said you weren't partying. I'm like, I wasn't.
They sprayed shit at me. What can I do?
I had a beer. Anyway, their record I spent a lot of time on. Chris Dugan from Green Day, their producer.
Yeah.
He did it first, but he didn't really get the vibe of them. So I went back and redid it. And it's the new punk, really. It's a little hip hop, but I mean, from people who have been in prison,
Yeah.
And Sam's in a biker gang, and he's no joke.
Yeah.
But he's also chivalrous and a really sweet, intelligent guy. This guy's mother shot his father's head off with a shotgun in a bar because he beat her up. And then that was when.
Where are they from?
San Jose. And then he got put in foster homes for the rest of his whole childhood. So when he's singing shit, it's fucking for real. He just did I just got these songs on my phone yesterday. He just recorded with Chesky. Chesky from the East Coast?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a rapper, but like a punk rock rapper. So they were all at the house. Hey, Mike, where's the drugs? I'm like, I'm sober right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys can do drugs, and they're like, no, it's okay. No, I don't care. I'm good.
Can you deal with drugs being around now while sober?
Actually, I don't think I've seen any. So, I mean, me being sober is, I'm going to do it for a year. I love it. I'm so productive and the days are long, but really awesome. And
you did this a couple of years ago as well, didn't you? Because I remember seeing you at Download when you were on tour in Europe where...
I did 3 months sober.
Yeah.
And it's not harder on tour because I got to actually see Europe for the first time, but it's just not as fun. And if you're doing 4 shows a week and you're playing an hour and 20 minutes a night, that's the time to really party. I mean, you have no responsibilities.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm having a great time being sober. And, you probably don't know this, but NOFX started recording our new album Monday.
Right. This is the one that's coming in November, right?
Yeah. And it's way more focused, and I'm really liking the songs a lot. I think bands say this all the time. I know it because I own a label, but it's some of my favorite songs I've ever written, lyrically and musically. And I'm focused as fuck.
Mate, this is why I'm so delighted that I've never interviewed you, man. I've been doing this shit for 20 years. And like when I was a kid, it was like pipe dream stuff because you literally talk to fucking nobody. When I first came into the game, it was like you were fucking like Axl Rose on the fucking unicorns I'm never gonna get to chat to.
Well, it was different though. I didn't do any interviews for 8 years.
Right.
But there was a reason. And it's because punk rock broke in the 90s.
Yeah, man.
I want to be part of it. You know, like
it's my favorite bit in the book was when you're all talking about being caught.
Asked about Green Day and Offspring and Rancid, and aren't you jealous how big they're getting? I'm like, I don't want to answer that question anymore. Yes, I was jealous for 4 or 5 months, and then I realized, no, we're happy, and you can't be better than happy. If you're happy,
fuck yeah,
you can't shoot for happier.
Agreed.
You know, and like these days, I'm with this wonderful woman. And I'm riding every day and going on bike rides, and I do yoga every morning. I get free coffee. It's like, I'm happy every day. Why fuck with that?
I agree. And like, I was going to ask this question later on, but I'll ask it now because it's so poignant. Like, you're a self-deprecating guy. I've been seeing NOFX since the 90s. I listen to the way that you take the piss out of yourself. But like, I don't know if this is awkward now, but like it or not, you're one of America's best songwriters when it comes to punk rock music that your country has ever produced. Is that awkward for you?
When it comes to punk rock?
Yeah, when it comes to punk rock, you are one of...
No, why don't you just stick with the beginning of that?
Oh yeah, was I casting the net not wide enough? One of America's finest songwriters, full stop.
Well, I mean, no, just, who are the songwriters that are really honest these days and use chord progressions that aren't trite? You know, who are they? I mean, I have my favorite songwriters. I know who they are. Like Elliott Smith, he had some really fucking great songs. Brett Gurewitz, but I don't think you can define it as punk rock because, well, I mean, first of all, punk rock is the best style of music. It's better than all other styles. You know, folk music is pretty good, but I mean, what are the styles of music you're talking about? Pop? I mean, who really impresses me is Billie Eilish.
Right.
As far as pop goes. I mean,
it's truly alternative. I know this is a bit of a fucking name drop, but fucking Billy Corgan said to me that when alternative goes so far from like towards the mainstream, what the fuck is it the alternative to? But Billie Eilish feels like an alternative pop star music.
Yeah, and her videos are incredible. And my daughter turned me on to her, and I listen to her music all the time, especially when I'm getting whipped. You know, it's like a good time to listen to Billie Eilish. You know, I'm the bad guy. Yeah, that's right.
Timing.
But Billy Corgan, I mean, how can you have a serious conversation with that man? He put out a great video on that double album, the Mellon Collie, the fucking one of the worst double albums of all times.
Mike, we are going to fall out. Mellon Collie and Metallica you've attacked on this show.
I said Ride the Lightning is very good.
Yes, Kill 'Em All. Yes, you attacked Kill 'Em All, not Metallica.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you can't see the humor in Kill 'Em All.
Of course.
I mean, that's up there with Exeter, you know.
Yeah, fair.
Okay. But no, really, Smashing Pumpkins are probably the most overrated, like grunge style band. I mean, really, and you could tell because when Billy Corgan went on to his fucking weird band, you know, they were terrible and no one gave a fuck. And then Courtney Love hired him to write songs for her. A terrible album. He's one of the worst American songwriters ever.
Oh yeah.
When you have someone like Kurt Cobain, who's a genius songwriter.
Yeah, very different things, aren't they?
No, one's great.
You don't think?
Yeah, one's great and one's horrible.
I'll line them up, you knock them down.
Talking about Billy Corgan in the song.
Sorry, say that again?
I have a song where I talk shit about Billy Corgan.
Which song is that?
It's called San Francisco Fat. About how San Francisco is better than LA, because in LA there's peoples with egos that are so big, they're even bigger than Billy Corgan's.
That's true. I'll give you that. I'll give you that for sure.
Morgan to join Oasis. That's how fucking huge his ego is.
Well, he turned up actually in the mid-90s. They turned up at the EMAs for MTV and had a real bee in their bonnet about the Corgan and the Pumpkins, about the British invasion. Because apparently all you were hearing about in the mid-90s in America was that period where it was Oasis and the rest of it. And Corgan was really affronted by it. It was booting off at those awards.
Yeah, but see, Oasis have written some of the best songs of our generation. You know, that So Sally Can Wait song, and definitely Maybe, that record. And no, those records are incredible. I'm free. Da-na-na-na. That wasn't even a single in the US.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, I have all their EPs, all the Oasis EPs.
I'm big with Oasis. I should bring things.
Were you at their 2001 New Year's party?
Oasis? No. No fucking way. I was at Nebworth when I was 13. It was the second show I ever went to. I was massive on Oasis growing up. Well, and still are, like, to be fair.
Which was the guitar player? Noel?
The guitar player? Noel is the guitar player, yeah.
Yeah. I was at Noel's house at 2001 New Year's. And they were all there because Gem was friends with Lee from Snuff.
Oh, shit.
So Lee told me, he goes, I'm going to take you to a party where no one gives a fuck who you are. Because I'm sick of going to all these punk rock places. So we went to their party. There was like 30 people there. And they were all actually polite. All the guys. Sweet. And the guy from Travis, Andy, he was the only guy who was talking to me. And I couldn't understand what he was saying because he's fucking
Scottish. Yeah.
Who the fuck knows what he's saying? And I hadn't heard of his band, but I heard they're popular. But then after New Year's, no shit, dude. The next 4 hours, Oasis played Oasis at their party. They were just.
I applaud just how over the top that is.
No, because I mean, I thought, you know, when they said we're the best band since the Beatles, it was a great marketing.
Yeah.
Half the people believe it, but you listen to your own band,
even at their own party. Party, like in the car's one thing, like at a party's another.
You're driving. I'll listen. I'll put on fucking Essen Maryland. Oh, pretty good back in the '80s. I wouldn't have a party and blast NOFX. What the hell?
Like we should bring people up to speed because Single Album is my favourite NOFX record since Pump Up the Volume, and an instant classic NOFX record as well. If you have ever had any interest in any era of NOFX, you have to check out Single Album. I wanted to ask you about.
Thank you so much. You know how great it is for me. This is the best reviews we've ever gotten.
That's so fucking rad and so well deserved over the years, man.
Thank you so much. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I just knew that 2 of the songs in this album I really can't stop listening to.
Do you think you'd be surprised? I'll ask you what those 2 songs are in a minute. But do you think people would be surprised to learn that? And again, if I'm reading between the lines and getting it wrong, do tell me. But do you think people would be surprised to learn that you're affected by the fact that NOFX haven't been put on a pedestal in the way that someone like myself, who's grown up with your band, would like to see them? My words, not yours.
Well, yeah, it bothers me immensely. What bothers me is my musical Home Sweet Home, which is the best work I've ever done.
Yeah.
And you know, we had a big producer. We were finally opening in LA for 4 months, and COVID hit, and it got shut. But NOFX is just what you expect, because if you don't make your classic record, I mean, no, we did make our classic records, right? And most bands, just about every band, after 4 or 5 records, no one really cares about them anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and all the really classic records like Sex Pistols or Op Ivy, Minor Threat, Bad Brains, all those bands broke up. And then, yeah, that's why they're classic records. You know, I'd like to see Op Ivy make their 14th record, or Minor Threat. See how much people really care then. And it doesn't really happen. Like the Ramones, last time I saw the Ramones was at a 500-seater, and it wasn't even sold out. Now they're thought of as, legends, but it wasn't back then. It wasn't in the early 90s, late 80s. So when we're getting reviews like this, where some people were 10 stars and 5 out of 5, and I've never seen that before. You know, NoFX usually gets 3.5 or 4 stars out of 5. It's like, oh, another NoFX record. And I'm like, damn, I thought.
And you've got a varied back. You've got a varied back catalogue as well. It's not like you're just shitting out the same record again and again.
I don't think we are, you know, and this new one, it was different enough. That's why I started it with The Big Drag, which is maybe my favorite NoFX song besides Decline, because I listen to it and it still surprises me, you know, because No Measure is the same length.
Yeah.
And
it's a head fuck.
It's a head fuck. This whole record is, a lot of it is. And that's what makes me so happy about it. Yeah, I'm going to start this record with a slow 6-minute song that makes no sense. And I still love it. I still love that choice.
And bookending it with Your Last Resort, which we'll get to in a minute.
Last Resort is my heart. It's
actually let's do it there then. Like, what made you want to leave the listener with that? Because that feels by design that Your Last Resort is the last song, and that's what you carry away when you're at the end of the record. What made that song go last?
People aren't going to like this answer, but we had 22 songs for the double album.
Yeah.
And it was really Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold, who's my good friend. And I played him the album and I said, what do you think? Give me your really honest opinion, because I'm having second thoughts about making this a double album. And he called back, he goes, it's an incredible album. Make it a single album. You're right. Because the first disc is so much better than the second disc. And I was like, right. Thanks, because that's how I'm feeling. And then I wrote Last Resort. So the record was recorded, and I went back in and recorded Last Resort, which I had, but I hadn't finished it. And it was just that one piano riff. I liked it so much. It's such a weird melody over that riff. And, you know, and the reason I was so depressed, one of the biggest reason was my divorce from Soma.
Yeah.
From Soma Snake Oil. That was why I wrote such a dark album. Not that all the songs are about her, but this song was really about us. And it meant so much to me to record it. And it just, and I sent that song to him. He's like, fuck yeah. He's like, yeah, this is the best song on the album.
I've got a double-pronged question for you here. One is there's a lot of uncomfortable stuff on the record, but designed to make the listener feel uncomfortable, which you've been on record speaking about. But the other thing that I wanted to ask is, do you feel like you're writing more autobiographically? And how much do you think the hepatitis bathtub changed people's view of NoFX and yourself? I know you're on record as saying that it's Smelly's story, but
that's a great question. It's a really good question, because what the hepatitis bathtub did for me was it opened up a world to write songs about, where all these things I could not, you know, the hardest thing about writing a song, I can write melodies and chords all day. Coming up with a subject matter that isn't trite after 300, 400 songs, that's the hardest part. Now, once you fucking sing about your parents taking you a porn and, you know, and ending your mom's life and so many personal things, now it opened up a world for me, a wealth of songwriting material. And it's a great place to be. I mean, right now I have 30 or 40 new songs, and no shit, I'm writing some of the best shit of my life right now. Like this past 4 months being clean and having long days and COVID, I'm like, okay, all right, good morning. I'll do some yoga, drink some coffee, and now I'm going to write. And I'm writing some of the coolest shit right now, I think. And I don't always think that. The last record was just hard. I was writing everything at 3, 4 in the morning, just on blow and painkillers and vodka. And it got me to some cool places like Big Drag.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a few songs that I left off that are really dark that people are like, what? And destructive, because I'm singing about situations and people that I learned on the Cokie The Clown album. Don't sing songs that the only person that can relate to this is the person you're talking shit about. Don't do that, because you're going to ruin your friendships and you're going to ruin your important relationships. And that's what happened. I lost a lot of friends with the Cokie the Clown album. So Last Resort, you know, the day the record came out, I sent it to Soma. And I'm like, you should hear this from me. You know, the song, I wrote this 3 years ago, because these songs were written in 2018.
Yeah.
I was going through some hard times. And one of the questions I had was I just your last resort? Is that why, you know, is that why you came on to me? And is that why our relationship felt like such great love? Because, you know, I was the perfect person for you. And she assured me, she's like, Mike, what we had is, was so, I'll never love anyone as much as I loved you. She told me that. And, you know, I just started crying, and I'm like, thank you for telling me that, because I felt like we had a historic love affair, and it didn't work because, you know, it's like Sid and Nancy. It's just
some things burn too bright.
Yeah, absolutely burned too bright. And it got really destructive. But our life is like, if I showed you the 8,000 pictures I have of us, you know, being in bondage on a gondola in Venice, you know, for 2 hours, shit like that. Like, shit we did was pretty fucking rad. And I think this song is really just putting a stake, like, we did this. Even though it's not specific, I think it's really beautiful.
And something that I didn't actually write down, but like something that I want to applaud you for, man, is fucking, I've got so many friends that are sex workers and so many friends that are in that's their lifestyle. And do you feel like you've humanized that for a lot of people?
Absolutely. That's my job. And
fuck yeah.
She's doing. I mean, have you seen the Sidewalk Project and the work she does? I mean, she writes essays all the time for sex workers. But I mean, I've been singing about sex workers since Vanilla Sex.
Yeah.
Since Lori Myers. You know, and what are you serious? You look down, like, you're a stripper, but you look down on a hooker? Are you kidding me? You both have wonderful, you may not think they're wonderful, but strippers I know have bought houses. You know,
yeah, man.
Like, not only do you have a cool job, but you have power over men, and you have strength, and you're one of the you're a group of women that knows how powerful you are, and you know, and sex, what a great way to make a living. You know, if you had a job, all I have to do is fuck this chick, and I get paid like $1,000 every day. What a great job! But because who does it, we look down on it. And now strippers look down on escorts, and escorts and porn stars look down on escorts. I mean, I've seen it because you know, it was my life. You know, Soma was a sex worker and all her friends were doms. And it's so funny how they look down at each other. I'm a dom. You know, I don't fuck people. You're pleasing a man or a woman, and that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like one of the literally most joy-inducing jobs there is to have. And I've got friends.
I get to bring joy to people.
Yeah,
they bring joy to people. You know, just because you're fucking giving a handy, you know, I'm fucking on stage on nights I don't feel like it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure there's been handies when there's been bad days, but yeah, I hear you. So, you did a fucking brilliant track by track for Consequence of Sound.
I've never done that before. It was weird.
I think it was really essential. Like, it brought so much life to the record when I listened to it. But something that I was particularly buoyed with was the fact that you pointed out that there was an aim to make the listener uncomfortable. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Well, it wasn't so much to make them uncomfortable. I need to write stuff or put out comps, like, you know, the short music for short people, or Decline, or whatever I do. I like to do something different that people haven't heard before. So how do you do that after, you know, 38 years of music? And Linoleum was a way to do that. I mean, it really, the first time you hear Linoleum, it just fucks with your brain.
Yeah, it jarred the fuck out of me.
Yeah, and for the 3 or 4 times. Fish in a Gun Barrel will do that musically, Big Drag totally does that. Big Drag, Fletcher from Pennywise is like, okay, listen to your record, and I've listened to Big Drag a few times, and well, I'm so pissed that I didn't write that song, but I don't understand it. How did you do that? What the fuck? And like, and Fletcher, whenever he calls me on an album, he called me on Wolves. He goes, okay, dude, you incredible. But then he didn't call me for first ditch effort. He'll only call me when it really hits him hard. And that's what I want. I want my peers and my friends to be like, oh shit, you thought of this. And in Last Resort, the one thing I do, it's my favorite thing on the album where I say, they strap us down with minor chords as we set sail into the dark and sharpest sea. And then I hit a C sharp minor, that chord, a C sharp minor. It's like, yeah. And it was in that key too. I didn't have to change keys. I was like, oh my God. Like, yes.
Mate.
Synchronicity.
What I love about hearing that is we live in an era where so many people just want to write for algorithms that digital service providers will get their music out more. And to hear you fucking thinking on that level, like pleasing yourself as a songwriter to the point where you're like, fuck yeah, that's amusing. I love it.
Yeah,
like
start minor, and I just sang the chords, go into it, dark and sharp as C. And I had to actually say that in some interviews because I'm like, if I don't say anything, no one will.
No one's going to notice. Fucking right.
But I did it for a reason.
So I
it's super fun. I do want to make an apology. I want to make a apology. The song about my friend, the guy I met that, had cancer. And, my friend can't survive cancer.
Yeah.
Turns out he's had it for 2 years. And there's another song called, on the second disc, which didn't come out, called The Fake a Wish Foundation. But I just got a call from this dude the other day, some cease and desist. Apparently he died from brain cancer. So.
Shit! Fucking hell! This story keeps on fucking going, man.
I know. So he's like, you really need to apologize to Brett. I'm like, oh, well, why should I apologize? He died. I'm like, well, then how can I apologize?
Fair point. You make it well.
But this is my only apology. Sorry, Brett. I know the record came out after you were dead, so really, I apologize for nothing. No, I apologize because I was wrong. You did have brain cancer. You did die. Here's to you.
So, speaking of making people uncomfortable, Mike, the record, it being designed to make people uncomfortable. Is there part of that because we live
It wasn't designed for that. Finish your question.
Right.
It wasn't designed for that.
Okay, excellent. No, great. But because to me, again, as someone that has to listen to everything that comes out, I listen to, most of that is cookie cutter nonsense. And
it's cookie cutter nonsense.
Yeah, the effect of something like that challenges the listener. Like, I wondered if that was part of the constructs of making this record.
It's always been what I've done. When I wrote that song, Louise, that is a dirty, dirty song. When I wrote My Vagina on the same record, my neighbors who were friends with me and, I knew their kids, that was over when that record came out.
Wild.
And I'm self-destructive lyrically because I like to push the boundaries. And, in punk rock in the early 80s and 70s, you could say stuff like that, Pistols lyrics or Ramones lyrics. Now I want to sniff some glue. I want to go down the basement. And Dead Kennedys. Are you kidding me? Let's lynch the landlord and stealing people's mail. And you could say anything you wanted to back then. DOA saying 13, about being a pervert. And she's only 3 and that's okay with me. You can't sing that stuff anymore. And that's fine because it is kind of disturbing. And I don't sing stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I sing fuck euphemism. And I talk about snorting a line off Scarlett's $100,000 cunt. People are like, oh, I'm sure that's not true. Of course it's true. Of course I did. I did it right there. you know, and it was difficult. It's not easy because there's no clitoral hood for a backstop. But who talks about stuff like this? You know, or Cokie the Clown.
Yeah.
The first song is about me finding my wife after she tried to kill herself in a bathtub, and I found her just in time. Who sings about that? Who sings about how all your friends let you down because they weren't nice to your fiance because she was a porn star?
Yeah.
That stuff is like, it's brutal. And I can't believe that my punk rock friends were that fucking judgmental.
It's wild. It's wild, mate.
But it put me in a 2 to 3 year depression. You know?
Yeah.
So I wanted to sing about it. The song that no one's heard was "We Didn't Stop the Rape."
That's about that bit in the book.
That's a Cokie song that my publicist was like, "You can't put this on the album." Because everyone will be talking about that one song. And it's something, that song.
Yeah. Yeah, the story is in a book filled with some dark moments. It stands out.
Oh, and that's the song that Vanessa was like, "Mike, you can't put this song on the record because it'll turn the record into
a story,
about this song. It'll all be about that song." So I listen. That's
super astute. So shout out Vanessa for that. You mentioned something there that's kind of interesting as well. Like, I'm glad that the era we're in hasn't affected your level of honesty in your songwriting. Do you feel like it has affected people's honesty with songwriting? An era where you have to watch what you say 50 times before you say it?
Oh, absolutely. People write songs by committee now. You know, can we say this? And I don't do that, but I am a little more careful. When I wrote "Fuck Euphemism," I didn't want to get shit from the LGBT community and I played the lyrics for some people, for Soma and for Scarlet Sin, who with the man-made pussy, and some people in the trans community. Is this offensive to you? And they're like, you know what? It really isn't, because you're right on point. And if you use the term "per" for person, that's a good term. You're not giving away your gender, but they and them is confusing. You know, yeah, they're cool. I slept with them the other night. You slept with them? Like, how many people did you sleep with? No. I just slept with them. Okay, so how many people were there? It's confusing. But if you say I slept with Per, I really like Per. Per's great. It's just a better term. So I'm just putting that forward.
I love that because the only thing that I ever worry about with these things is, like, I will call anyone whatever they want to be called if that's what they want. That's what makes their life an easier place to be. I don't give a shit, but I also don't want to cop flack for not saying the right thing. It's like, I'll call you whatever, whenever, man. Like, just let me know.
If someone said, "Hey, Michael," I go, what? That's weird. Don't call me Michael. I call myself Mike. Oh, well, I'm going to call you Michael. Well, quit it. That's what my mom called me. You know, like, you can't just call someone any name you want to. But like transvestite, I'm comfortable with that name because it's Rocky Horror. It's fucking Tim Curry. Crossdresser's fine. Yeah. I prefer transvestite. Like, you can't say trans because it's a different community. I'm like, I'm 54. I can go with that if I want to. Yeah. But it's not confusing. If I would say, I'm transvestites. That would be
that the world cannot handle more than one Mike.
And I'm thinning down, so okay.
I'll do a couple more questions before you go. Bill Stevenson on the record. That's one of Black Flag recording NOFX. What was
he was a Black Flag, but he's a Descendents man.
All right. Hey, that's a hot potato I'm not catching. What was that experience like?
Well, he's done 3 of our records, and it was a magnificent experience. I mean, it's basically me and Bill in the studio for 6 weeks. You know, Jason comes and gets sounds, and he mixes, and Smelly would do his parts, and Melvin and Hefe, but I'm the guy who's there all the time. So it's just me and Bill, and a lot of time we just spent seriously watching the suburban lawns on New Wave Theater. You know, we spent a lot of time.
What is suburban lawns? This is where I'm being too British for my own good. What is suburban lawns, Mike?
Suburban Lawns was a weird LA punk band no one liked, but they did a song called I'm a Janitor.
Right.
On New Wave Theater. New Wave Theater was a place that I went to, and all these punk bands, Fear, Angry Samoans, Bad Religion,
yeah,
they were all allowed to do 2 songs. And they'd have like 10 bands, and they'd film it. It was for cable.
Fuck yeah.
And we could bring in our own beer, and we were 16. And it was awesome. And this one band, no one really liked, but this one song is so fucking good. And, you know, this Sue Tissue, the singer with braces, I showed this video to Matt Skiba, and on their next record, you hear the riff. Alkaline Trio fully took the riff.
Unreal.
But everyone should watch Suburban Lawns, I'm a Janitor on New Wave Theater.
Mate, that's fucking killer. Is that loosely where short music for short people came from? And if you don't know what short music
those
for
are
short
short songs. This was bands only got to play 2 songs.
Yeah. It felt like the record equivalent of just like, and here's another one, and here's another one, and here's another one.
Yeah, but it took 45 minutes for each band to set up.
Right.
So
yeah, there is that. Yeah.
And then the host, Peter Ivers, got beat up with a baseball bat while he was sleeping, and got murdered. So
a very LA ending.
Yeah. But seeing Bad Religion do that show when Greg Graffin was 15, it's
crazy.
Amazing.
Still smarter than all of us at 15 as well, I would bet.
And a better singer than
I mentioned short music for short people. It was so massive for me growing up, man. Like when I hadn't heard of all of those bands, and after getting those 30-second songs, like it was for someone where I was, like to be able to go and hunt down all of those bands I still listen to today, like the Dancehall Crashers and all kinds of fucking great bands.
That was a joy.
Could you do it today? Could that be done again?
Oh yeah, not by a lot of people. I could do it. I mean, what I'm doing right now is, I'm opening the Punk Rock Museum in Vegas, and I'm calling everyone I know. Like Pat Smear, he just invested a bunch, and he's he's like, man, I'll get you all Lorna's stuff.
Yes.
And Brian Holland just is in, and Zach from Rise Against, and pretty much everyone I call wants to be involved. And I got Sid Vicious's boots. I got Durf's saxophone.
Mate,
we have we're getting 100,000 flyers to it's a 12,000 square foot building. But the cool thing, and this is the best, Jerry Only from the Misfits, he's giving me Misfits guitars, and he made a life-size figure of himself with all his clothes, with glowing eyes. And he's like, and you know what? I'm going to make a display case, and I'm going to drive it out to you guys from New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is such a joy. Like, I get to talk to my heroes. I mean, the Misfits. I mean, shit, the Misfits.
Yeah. Where's that one?
And Jerry Only, he lives up to the hype. He is that cool.
I love that, man. I've never spoken to any of the Misfits. It's another one. It's fucking bizarre, man. So is this public knowledge that this punk rock museum's happening? This is the first I've heard about it.
Just recently. Yeah, but every day, I talked to Brian from The Offspring yesterday.
Yeah.
Noodles before. And Nate from the Foo Fighters, he's in.
That's so cool,
all the
man.
Foo Fighters are punk rockers.
Yeah, man.
And everyone is just stoked. We got Johnny Thunder's guitar.
Fuck, man. Like, there's some
in Necros lyrics. Necros from Miami, Ohio, from '81, and it's cool as fuck. And it's bringing me so much joy because I am the guy who can call anybody because I bug some people, but I'm still friends with every punk band, and I can call them, and they know I'm not doing it for the wrong reasons. I want this museum. It's a legacy project. It's like, this is our place. Pat Smear was like, fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he's like, what kind of criteria? I mean, Pat Smear from the Germs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Germs, Nirvana, Foo Fighters, Vagina Dentata. He's been in every band.
And any guitar he puts on sounds just fucking so razor sharp in whatever he does.
And I said, is it true that you didn't have a guitar in the Germs? He's like, that's true. And like he would show up at a show with no amps and no guitars, and he just borrow whatever was there. So I go, can we have your guitar, your Germs guitar for the museum? He's like, what do you mean? I go, there'll be no guitar.
Love it.
And he's the one who said, what kind of criteria do bands need to get in the museum? Like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducts bands. He's like, I think that a band should have to have one recorded song and have played a show.
That's so perfect.
And yeah, Pat Smear. It's like, it's perfect. And that's what it is. If you have a flyer and you're from, Albuquerque, well, that's a pretty big city, a small town, Amarillo, Texas. If you're in a band that played a show, send us the flyer. We will put it on the wall.
Like, there's something so fucking awesome about you mentioning the people that are helping out and your era of punk rock and the communal spirit that still exists between you. Because like when I listened to Lyman on Why Warped Shut, it was like, well, the band's got big and then they didn't fucking come back. They didn't come back and do their thing. Whereas your era is still out there together doing cool shit for people like me that fucking love this shit and like the idea of going to Vegas for 3 days to do that shit. I need something to do during the day, Mike.
Punk rock is a community and we are a family and it's no joke. And this museum is going to be our church and our legacy and everyone's welcome. Unless your band was really bad, then I might say,
there's got to be a line.
Punk, but you're terrible. So I'm sorry.
That's
fair too.
That's fucking incredible, man. That's really, really fucking cool. Last question then. We know that there's an album that you're working on for November. Are there any other Mike projects in the offing? Because we've spoken briefly about Home Street Home, and even in the brief moment that you spoke about it, like the affinity for that work came bursting through the screen.
Home Street Home it's my baby, me and Soma's baby, and how it's been abused by different producers, and it's the worst thing that's ever happened to my life. It's been terrible, but right now it looks like it's going to become a TV series and open off Broadway in a few years, and things are looking really, really good for it. And we're talking to Barbara Broccoli, who owns all the James Bond movies. She loves it. And how cool, James Bond.
That's so good.
I won't give up on that. And it's really important to me. It's happening. Me and Joe from the Vandals and this guy Colin wrote a sitcom that I think that's going to get picked up too.
What's it about?
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, I got to ask.
But it's no one's ever done anything like it.
Fuck yeah! Is it something that you're super proud of as well?
Yeah. We're not comedy writers, but the pilot it gets the gist across. It's really cool, and lots of stuff. I just can't stop working, especially with time on my hands. I write all the time. I really want to produce other bands. That's what I like doing the most. But I wrote a lot of ballads, but a lot of like Barbara Streisand type songs.
Amazing.
And people they don't really. I don't know how to get it to Babs. I want Babs to do it.
Would you consider a record of that just with other people singing it?
I have. Maybe I'll put that out. It's just it's just going to be like people like, what?
Fuck 'em, Mike. I want to hear that shit.
I'll play the song I'm talking about. I mean, I have quite a few of them, but like, the
Awesome.
AVNs I won is from my Ragtime soundtrack. Me and the guy from the Mad Caddies, we did a Ragtime soundtrack.
Yeah.
We won 3 well, we won 2 AVN awards, and then Soma won 1 for best director. But yeah, I mean, I like doing other kinds of music. I did a Discovery Channel show on Bitcoin. I scored it. Me and Baz, one of my co-conspirators, we did a score for Bitcoin, shit like that.
But after being a songwriter for this amount of time, Mike, it's fucking so wicked to see you reaching for inspiration in loads of different places. The more Mike, the better, mate.
Well, I love doing it. I love doing original things, and I don't play video games. I don't binge watch. I do spend a lot of time being tied up.
There is that, yeah.
But that's when I think of shit, you know, when you're in a box tied up for an hour.
Yeah. You
can't play with yourself because you're tied up. So.
Here's me complaining. Here's me complaining about this new fucking breathing technique I've learned in trying to fucking meditate, and you're like, yeah, try being tied up in a box for an hour, my friend.
Well, yeah, with a hood, with a tube, right, a gas mask and a tube that goes out, you know, this one hole, and then they're fucking pumping nitrous into it too, so it makes it even fucking weirder.
Mate, fuck yeah, Mike. Thanks so much for your time today, and on the real, like. So many shit days have been made better by your music, and I appreciate it. Super appreciate it.
What a sweet thing to say. What a sweet thing to say. Thank you very much.
The truth, mate. Well,
if you want to come by and check out the studio and do this live sometime.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this in November when the record's coming. I'm down the road, 100%. Would love to,
Great.
Mike.
Yeah, tell Vanessa that you get the first interview because I've really enjoyed this interview.
Mate. Fuck me, I could explode with joy. Thanks so much, Mike.
I'm not gonna fuck you just because I wear a dress.
Good, because I was gonna try. I was gonna try, Mike. I was gonna try.
I don't think guys are gross, you know.
Mate, have a good day, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers, Mike.
Later. Thank
Cheers,
you,
mate. Thank you, mate. Bye.